So welcome today. Thank you very much for being with us. We do appreciate everyone's time and willingness to come on and learn some great things today. Today, we are very pleased to welcome on Adrian Smude. We're going to be talking about everything and anything to do with mobile homes and giving some good perspectives on how we can actually get these types of assets at great deals, how to structure them, what to look for, and especially with how to utilize IRAs specifically for them. A little bit about myself as the moderator today. My name's Alex Perny, been with Advanta since 2012. If you have any questions specifically on the IRA side of things, just reach out to me directly. All my contact information is right here on the screen. A quick disclaimer, Advanta IRA and our employees do not provide investment advice, nor do we endorse or promote any products. All information and materials are for educational purposes only, and all parties are encouraged to consult with their attorneys, accountants, and financial advisors before entering into any type of investment. A little bit about Advanta IRA. We're a self-directed retirement plan administrator serving clients nation and indeed worldwide. We have plenty of experience in all manner of self-directed and alternative assets. We're very proud to say that we've been in business for almost 20 years. We got founded back in 2003, and we've been steering the ship in a great direction of allowing clients to take control of their retirement plans and invest in what they know and understand for that entire time. We have never done things like publicly traded stocks, bonds, and securities. We've only focused on the alternatives with a main focus on real estate. Currently, we hold almost $2.7 billion of assets under administration with a network of clients, attorneys, and CPAs to help those people out to make great decisions. Every client here at Advanta IRA has a dedicated account manager who will work with you and anyone interested in your account to help make those investments in a very timely and efficient manner. So if you have any questions or you'd like to get started with this, just let us know. But with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Adrian Smude today, who's going to be the one that's going to be focusing on helping you invest in mobile homes. So with that said, Adrian, take it away.
Well, thank you, Alex. Thank you, Advanta. You've always been very supportive of me getting education out there and just the education community in a whole. It's one reason that I'm an account holder at Advanta, besides the wonderful customer service. I'll give you another plug. When I was leaving a different IRA company, Alex had to go way above and beyond to help the other IRA company fix some screw-ups. We'll leave it like that, but it was a lot of extra help that Alex did not have to do to help out. So thank you, Alex. I have a lot today, and so usually I like questions throughout, but if maybe we can hold them for the end so that the people that are on the timeline of staying within time here, they can get on to the rest of their day and I can answer them at the end. I'll stay a little bit late if that is possible. So today's goal is to bust a lot of your myths about mobile homes, about investing in them. So I made this slide deck especially for you as Advanta customers and soon-to-be customers, hopefully. So let's go to the next slide. And I'm going to go through some of this beginning part pretty fast. So if you do get lost at all, if you just go back into the archives, I think they're all on YouTube, correct, Alex, from the previous one we've done? So some of these beginning parts are on there. So if you want it a little bit slower paced, just jump over there. So the question is, why would you sell a nice home like this? If you don't already know Pete Fortunato, that is his question. He always teaches us to ask this question because we need to know the real reason someone would sell. So why would I sell this? It appraised at $200,000, it had great bank financing, and then most importantly, it cash flowed. So why would I sell a nice home like this? Well, the answer on the next slide is what we're here to talk about, mobile homes. I did a 1031 exchange. The short on what a 1031 exchange is I deferred paying the taxes to a later date. So I bought these 7 individual mobile homes. These are home and land together, 7 different transactions, 7 different sellers. So I bought those. I had to put a little bit of, I spent $174,000. You want to go to the next one there, and you can see that's for the purchase price and the closing. I took some money out. I took some money out and spent it, if you do your quick math, because we need to spend and enjoy our journey. We just had a good friend in the St. Pete, Clearwater area, a good friend of the Advanta world, pass away way too young. You got to go and spend and enjoy your journey and not just wait for someday when. But back to this. Put some repairs into it, as you can see. And the big kicker is the new net cash flow. at $3,300 a month. That is 857% more cash flow. If you want to go to the next slide, Alex, I'm going to show them it's either $4,600 a year or almost $40,000 a year. I think we all agree we want more cash flow. So mobile homes produce more cash flow. It is one of the many reasons I invest in them, and I believe you should too. So it's one of the myths that you can't really make a lot of money in mobile homes. Well, we're busting that today. And if you disagree with any of these myths, at the end, challenge me on them. So real quick, who I am. I grew up in Plant City, Florida. We're in between Tampa and Orlando. We're the winter strawberry capital of the world. You can see my family there. It's my big brother, my parents, and me. I started out, you can keep going. If they want to know more about me, they can go to the previous episodes or the previous webinars. I'm a bad tenant when I started out. That's how I got my start. These are my eviction notices. They're for spaghetti wrestling parties, pudding wrestling parties, parking a motorcycle in the living room, mud wrestling parties. But this drove me to buy a house. So I bought my first house because I got evicted. Moved my friends in. Then I divided my mortgage up amongst all my friends, and I lived for free, which is really cool at 20 years old. So then what do you do next? You say, all right, well, can I buy another house? Went and bought another house. It ended in a short sale, as you see here on the screen. That home, I had a little bit every month I was losing. And the bank said, don't worry, you can refinance in a few years. Everything will be fine. The real estate market goes straight up. I had one of those adjustable rate mortgages. It didn't end well for that second home because I didn't buy it right. I'm gonna swing, yeah, there, sorry. But this first home, I want to make this a very key point for where we're at in this market right now. I bought it right, and I was renting it right. I wasn't losing a little bit every month. I wasn't planning on appreciation as a game plan. Where we're at in the market now, I think that's a very important piece to see again, because I don't think we're in a straight up market anymore. We've been very fortunate for years. So with that short sale in the back of my head, ding my ego and credit and everything else. But eventually I ended up at a RIA and in person, networking with people, and I find someone talking about mobile homes. And my very first mobile home, I found it at the RIA out in Polk County. Advanta's a sponsor over there. And the story here is Jessica came up to me. I made friends with her at the RIA. And she said, my broker has someone that needs to sell their mobile home. Would you be interested? Like I said, I had heard about them, but there wasn't anyone out there really educating on the topic. But I was uncomfortable being comfortable, so I said, okay, sure. Let me go look at it. I ended up buying this 1965, 0.09 acres, 3-bedroom, 1-bath, single wide for $16,000. I made some mistakes. Let's just go ahead and say I had $20,000 in it, and I'm renting it at that time for $475 a month. You don't need to pull out your financial calculator to see those numbers are pretty good. So I went and bought more and more mobile homes. I realized I stumbled into this gold mine that no one was really talking about or teaching. If you really dug into the silver-haired, if they have hair at all, seasoned investors, they had been in the mobile home space or still were, but no one was talking about it. And I like marketing to properties that people aren't talking about. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Today, this is at, I believe it's $720 a month. I've made my business about buying and renting single unit mobile homes with the land. Fast forward, I started speaking and teaching in the area because people ask me, and I'm not so shy about what I do. And in the next slide, you can see I wrote a book on the topic as a way to get even more information out there faster. And I really learned I love educating. Part of it is because I want people to have a resource to learn from that I didn't have at the very beginning on the niche of mobile homes. And then another reason is I want to pass on the information and be one of the ones that pass on the information from a lot of our mentors out there And a lot of them get on here at Advanta and teach, like Pete Fortunato, John Schaub, even Bill Cook, my good friend Bill Cook. I'm publicly saying good things about him. But all of these mentors of ours are passing on, and we as a collective need to pass on and help other people. So here's how to get my book. People usually ask, so I put that there. But you can go to the next slide. So my mission with Lifestyle RA, what is it really? Is to bring sunshine, joy, and happiness into your life and business. It is, next slide, is to teach from my success and failures, and I'm a platform for my friends that run successful real estate businesses that don't want to get in the teaching world because it's work behind the scenes. They love what they do in their business. To step in and teach. And the next slide will show Mark Bracey. He's one of my friends. So I'm teaching how to fix and rent them. And the information later on I'll have on here about fix and flip. I've got some red flags that he shared is from him because he is fantastic at that topic. But let's go back to the basics of mobile homes. There's three main ways to invest in them. And this is a big confusion of people that aren't in the mobile home space. Usually people have heard of one, not all three. So you can have just the home on rented land. So you pay lot rent every month, typically to the mobile home park, but it can be on a single unit space of land somewhere, but you only own the home. Those are fantastic return on investments. They're recession resistant, but you do give up some control because the park manager or owner makes all the control. They make all the rules. Now, next you have the mobile home parks. There's two main ways to run a mobile home park. You can own everything, all the homes, all the land, absolutely everything. You own a flat apartment complex. The other way is you can own just the dirt and you let everyone rent to park their mobile home there every single month. So in that case, they own a big parking lot. These can still be great investments, but I do want to warn you, if you're going into that niche, it's gotten very competitive. The hedge funds got in there. There's a lot of competition there, government regulation. Doesn't mean don't go. Just know that ahead of time that you have to deal with that. But as you can see, the highlighted here is a mobile homes with the land, where you own the dirt. That's where I found my happy place because there's a lot less competition. I get all the control and I get really good return on my investment and the recession resistant. It's like I get the best of all the worlds. And that is a big myth that all mobile homes have lot rent. And we've just gone over that that's not true. So they don't all have lot rent, but they're great return on our investments and recession resistant. So as investors, I see us focus a lot on return on investment. I want to talk about the recession resistant real quick because this is another time we should be paying attention to it if we're in the long run of the investing world. Most mobile homes are in the affordable housing space. And when we're in another recession, if we're in one, if we ever find out what the definition of a recession is again, we are going to have people moving down in rent levels. Somebody's going to lose their job. I read somewhere on the internet that the average two household income has about $200 extra a month, give or take 50 bucks, because every study is going to say a little different. But nevertheless, if one of the household incomes loses their job, they're going to have to move down a rent level until the affordable housing space, which mobile homes are mainly in. So we're going to have more demand. We haven't really been creating much more supply, which means we could raise our rents technically. I'm looking at it more the fact that I will have a larger applicant pool to be able to fill my properties and keep them filled with the very best people to not only pay rent on time, but to take care of the property. So I sold everything and went all into mobile homes. I'm not asking you to do the same thing, but I'd like you to consider putting some into your business so you're recession resistant. So now on the screen, you can see some different mobile homes. And you see the one standing out right in the middle with the vintage yellow countertops. Mobile homes can be repaired. You have to look for what to repair on them. They're a little different, but you can repair and rebuild any age mobile home. I like to use the term vintage yellow countertops there because kind of comes back in style, and maybe I don't have to replace it or repair it. That's supposed to be a joke, but we can't see each other's faces, so you see me laughing. What that home did have, though, is I turned around the corner there where the refrigerator is, went down the hallway, turned into the bedroom, and I could see it was dark because the power wasn't on, but there's something weird about the carpet. I kept looking down, and I realized it was the shag carpet I've seen in movies. So the shag carpet, for the people my age or younger, is this long-haired carpet. They actually had a rake, and they would rake it to stand it up nice and pretty. But shag carpet, what do we know about it? It hasn't come back in style, so that means it's original. And if it's original shag carpet in the 1970s, it's going to be original subfloors. Walking around, subfloors feel strong, but they're original. The subfloors in the 70s were made out of particle board. If you haven't gotten particle board wet, it explodes, it disintegrates, it falls apart. Whatever term you want to use. It's glued together sawdust. So when it gets wet, it's gone. So knowing that there's particle board underneath there, we have to put in our budget to replace it. It's not that difficult, not that expensive to replace the subfloors, but it's not fun if it's not in your budget. The next slide is showing another item that is in the 1980s. Now, you might have to look up the proper way to pronounce this piping. It's polyurethane. I'm going to eventually learn how to say it. The key that I want to point out here, this is in 1980s. It looks like the gray PEX of today. But you see those brass connectors. That fails. There's no if, it's when. There was a class action lawsuit, they will fail. So just like the subfloors, it's not that difficult, not that expensive to replumb, but if it's not in your budget, it's going to do a lot more damage and it's not going to be fun. So I don't teach to go and fix all of this. I like to teach to know what to look for, like these items, and then go enjoy your life and hire the right person to do the repairs. Yes, there were small times I did a lot of the repairs, but I learned about it. You're good. You're good, Alex. Don't tease him with the trailer trash, because that's what somebody has already been thinking on this webinar. That, Adrian, this all sounds great, but they're all trailer trash that live there. And yes, the movies make fun of it, and every little kid's born a tall boy natty light. But on the right here, as you can see, this is who lives in most of my mobile homes. The blue collar, handyman, handywoman. The stereotype of all trailer trash is a stereotype. Yes, it can be true, but it's not always true. I'm actually having a Facebook discussion with someone in one of the groups right now, and he's telling me that that's all it is. And I'm like, okay, if that's what you believe, that's the areas you bought. Most of my residents are the blue collar, handyman, handywoman, the electrician, the carpenter, the road construction, the roofer, the AC tech, the painter. That's who lives in most of my properties. But that's not all of them. We've had people move in this year straight out of college, IT, working from home, making $75K a year. Lives in a beautiful 3-bedroom, 2-bath, double wide on a 1/4 acre fence lot. It's not all of that stereotype. This is the big one that I have to get people through, because it's more of the location you buy in. So if you buy a property that's in a good area and you fix it up nice, you're probably going to attract a good resident. But the opposite is true. If you buy in a bad area and you don't fix it up and you leave it really bad, you're probably going to attract a bad type of resident. So we've busted that myth. If you want to challenge me, I'll stay a few extra minutes, and I welcome it. The next slide is going to show that we busted it. Now, marketing. Marketing is always another topic. It's very simple. You change the word house to mobile home. It can all work. I've bought with Google AdWords. We have postcards. We have yellow letters, the signs on the side of the road. MLS. We're going to actually go over a deal from Joe and Sharon that was on the MLS this year. All of this can work. You just have to tell people what you are really looking for. Change your marketing from house to mobile home.
But Adrian, a quick question, and I always appreciate your answer on this, is when do you call it a mobile home and when do you call it a trailer?
So when I am buying, it is a trailer because the perceived value, that word makes it sound really low end and cheap. And when I'm selling or renting, it's always called a manufactured home. It sounds stronger and bigger and more expensive. So I appreciate you bringing it up here. So you know my presentation well. And our words matter regardless of anything, but I use that word trailer. Usually I make them correct me twice. And if they're really aggressive and say, no, this is not a trailer. But I like to always use the word trailer, not my marketing, but when my conversation with the person, because then I can read them a little bit better. There's some psychology there with it. So good add-in, Alex.
I appreciate it.
For me, how do I find most of my properties is on the next slide. I'm a networker. I am, Advanta IRA. So networking, no, you're there. Advanta IRA, is it twice a month now? You have the networking?
We do it once a month at the last Friday of the month. We have our Pitch, Promote, and Prosper networking pitch call.
So that is a great place to network. Realtors are a great place to network. You got to be a regular, at least for a little bit, so then other people on the call know you, and then you can kind of borrow their credibility that, if you show up every once in a while after that, then at least you know people there. But networking and just telling people what you do. I've made great connections on the Advanta call. Realtors are the other one that realtors get paid by the closing price. Mobile homes typically have one less zero. They sell a lot of times a little bit lower. So realtors are going to do the same amount of work for less money? Not if they're real busy. But realtors still want to help people. So I became an information source to realtors about mobile homes. I'm signing a contract today with a realtor. Actually, they brought me the deal, but they're getting the contract all signed up today, and it came through a realtor connection. When I'm out and about, I'm always wearing my yellow shirt, and I'm having fun while I'm wearing it. So this is my personality, and it fits me. I get deeper into this. We want to go back through some of the archives, but something I do want to point out that I don't know that I've pointed out in the past, that the introverts always get a little tense when I'm talking about this because this attracts attention. And I like attention. If you don't like attention, don't do this because you're going to be uncomfortable and then you're going to stop doing it. Find something that fits your personality and make that your marketing. Doesn't have to be copying with a t-shirt. This fits my marketing. Jumping off a boat in a Speedo. Now, this one slide, we can wait there a little bit longer. Alex, you think they're going to have complaints? No, the point of this slide is really that it's memorable marketing. You're going to remember this slide if you like it or not, no matter how fast Alex goes through it. Memorable marketing will cost you less time and less money, but it's got to fit your personality. So now we can keep going through. So financing, I want to talk here a little bit longer than I normally do because Advanta IRA is a custodian and there's a lot of money sitting in most people's IRA accounts, and financing is a great topic for that. Breeze real quick through the bank stuff because people always want to hear it. Bank financing with mobile homes, you can just leave it on the other side. We'll bust it in a second that they're not financeable. So the bank world, if you're going to go to the big banks, the Wells Fargo, the Bank of America, they'll look at mobile homes. They want it to be within 20 years. So the home within the 20 years old. I would really recommend if you're going to play the bank world, talk to community banks, credit unions, talk to them. I will tell you, they will not go older than June 15th, 1976, because that is the date the federal government stepped in and said, we are going to have some type of control over like the quality of mobile homes. Before that, they just kind of made them however they wanted. So banks don't go older than that. Figure out what the bank is really going to require. I'll tell you, today I'm having more and more people contacting me scrambling to refinance or scrambling to get something financed because the banks have gotten a lot stricter, especially on the investors with it. So I don't personally use banks. I like seller financing, and a better topic for today is private money. So this is our friends, our family, people that know, like, and trust us, and we know, like, and trust them. They have some money sitting around, maybe in a bank account, most likely in an IRA account like Advanta, and they need something to do with it. They can lend it to you on your mobile home with the land, mobile home without the land, mobile home park, and you can put some money to work. They can put some money to work that way, and you can finance it. I'll tell you, this older one, like this beautiful 1960 with most of its siding here, I'm still making payments on this. Now, it is owner financed. If I didn't get owner financing, I would have gone to someone that has money sitting in their IRA and given them an opportunity to make some money on their money. They pair very well. I don't want people to get stuck with rates either, because I hear that a lot, especially from newer investors. Well, the rates are too high. I can't make money with the price. Mobile homes make a really good return on your investment. So if they make a really good return and you've never had private money, you can give away a little bit more of it. And that's what I had to do at the beginning. My first private money, I have paid him off now. He made 17.5%, which is maybe crazy that I paid that much, but I only had $500 in the deal and I was making $250-ish a month. So who had the better deal? We both did. It was an amazing deal. So since then, I pay way less because I have a proven track record. I've shown people what I do, but it starts somewhere. Don't be scared to pay a higher amount or maybe give away part of the deal, because in the long run, I believe you're going to benefit better out of private money and seller financing. That's how I run my entire business now, and it has been easy to use banks the last 10, maybe 15 years ish, and I think that changed in this last year. So if you don't learn this topic, I really believe you're going to be left behind. So we busted the myth. Hopefully you all agree with me here. You can finance them. So let's look at this case study here. This is Joe and Sharon, some of my students up in Ocala area. This is a 1/4 acre lot. It's a 1984 double wide. You can see a little carport there. And they found it on the MLS this year, 2023, where people say that you can't find any deals on the MLS. They found it on the MLS. Now they search daily. They get their little email that comes in, and they don't wait around to go and contact the realtor to go look at it. When they see something that looks like it's in the ballpark, one of them's driving out there and the other one's on the phone with the realtor. Hey, tell me more about this property. And that's exactly what it is. They found it there. So the problems they solved, because remember, Pete teaches us that we're problem solvers. So what problems did they really solve here? This was a probate property. For those that are not in Florida, let me tell you about Florida a little bit. We're God's waiting room, sometimes people call us. People come down here, they retire, they eventually pass away, family lives up north, then they find out they inherited this mobile home, and they're like, I don't want this mobile home. Sorry, I don't want this trailer. And that's where they stepped in here. It was, I call it the old lady house. I probably need to upgrade that term, but there wasn't any structural damage in this property. It needed paint, carpet. The counters were a little lower, and they had some wheelchair damage, but it wasn't anything major. it was a little too much for someone from the MLS just to buy it and move in. But a lot of people in the MLS are scared of like mobile homes, and then that's the problems they solved. And they, of course, they want to sell it fast and they want to sell it now. Now, payment. They got a 30-year fixed rate. We'll look at the actual rate. I believe it was 8% fixed on this property, 80% of ARV. Now, we had to have a few conversations because they had to believe it was possible. And I believe who they're paying is an IRA inside of Advanta IRA, which is fun. Now I'm thinking about it. So they got private money though. This one they probably could have gone to a bank if they really wanted to, but they got private money with it. So the next thing we have to talk about here is the rehab. I mentioned a lot of it already. It had the countertops that needed to be raised. It had some damage along the cabinets. The backyard was very overgrown, paint, carpet. It was about a month of work. Now they hired their son to do a lot of the work because they're teaching him some of the business, and he's wanting to make some money. So they hired him as a handyman. And then they put it for rent. They put it for rent for $1,575 a month. And it rented quick. And in their market, that's about the top of the affordable housing space. And I'll tell you that I have properties up to $2,100 a month. And of course, I have them lower as well, closer to $1,000. There's a big range. It depends on the property itself. That goes back to that stereotype. Where's the property located? If it's a good home, they always pick homes within 20 minutes of good jobs. That's one of their big qualifiers. They will rent for really good rent rates. That's about the going rate for any home in that area. So let's look at the numbers. If you want to go forward, I think it's one more slide. What did they end up buying it for? They paid $110,000. So they did a little bit of negotiating with that 110. They did just the normal negotiating, and then they did find some stuff because it's an out-of-state seller that inherited the property, and they say, hey, are you aware of this? And they used that for some negotiating. They got some closing costs, repairs. So all in costs, all the money that's in it is $118,000. And the next slide will show you that they borrowed $108,000. So they made it super easy math for us to see that they have in total $10,000 in this deal. $10,000 cash out of pocket, which is netting them $313 net predictable income every single month. That's after taxes, insurance, repairs, the mortgage, all of it. That's actual cash they put in their pocket. You know, obviously their bank account. They can go spend it and eat off of it, whatever they want, go on vacations. $313 every month, which the next slide will show you. It is a 37% return on their investment. That's a cash on cash return of 37%. So if you're in like growth mode where you really want to grow your income, using less dollars to make more money is a really good, fast way to grow. That's one way I grew so fast. I looked for high cash flow returns. So they bought it right, they're renting it right, and if they need to sell it, they could sell it right. That's $135,000 it's worth. They're not going to lose money on it is the purpose of that. That's not a good fix and flip return, but it will make money. And the reason that's important to me is because if life changed and they had to sell right away, you don't want to write a check if you have to sell it right away. You want to at least be able to break even and make some money, because if that's going to be the hard time of life if that happens. Hopefully it doesn't. So here's my mobile home cash flow estimator. What I really want to show here is all the detailed numbers, because there's always the person in the group that is super detailed and want to know all the pennies to it. So you can see all the here. Look, it was 8%, 30 years. So they're making $313.71, which is a cash on cash return of 37.64%. And what does that do for them? The next slide is it allows them to not ask anyone to go on vacation. They could just pick up and say, you know what, we're going to go to Texas and visit family. They didn't have to ask for time off. They're living life on their terms. But what do we learn from this? That mobile homes rock. They allow us to be where we want, when you want, with who you want, and I call that lifestyle freedom. The secret here is, if you haven't noticed, is I'm not just selling you on the idea of mobile homes. It's the benefits that mobile homes can do for you. So if you're younger and super growth mode, all you want to do is replace your W-2, they can help you do that. If you're fast tracking your retirement account because you're planning to retire and start living off that soon and you want to grow it faster, they can fast track that. It's the benefits that we get from the mobile homes, not just the boxes themselves. So I'm gonna, let's see time wise. Okay, we got time for this. So this is Mark Bracey's daughter Harmony, and this is a before and after photo of a fix and flip he did. I look at that and be like, I can rent that out. But Mark thinks differently. He can see the end product of a fix and flip. Now he has rentals as well, but this is a beautiful fix and flip. The numbers right here. Let's stay on this slide for a second and look at some of these numbers. The purchase price was $38,000. And just go down to that blue line there. You can see $103,455. That was the money it was going to require. If you look down at all the percentages there, he's conservative there. He wants to be able to negotiate to make him money, not lose in a negotiation. So he knows he can get better commission, and he knows he usually doesn't have to give a buyer's allowance at this time. So the market has changed since he did this deal, and now the buyers are starting to ask for allowance. He's not surprised with his numbers. He bakes that in for when that time changes. But anyways, on here, the yellow highlight, that's what everyone wants to know. The net profit that he's projected to make is $23,920, which is a 21.1 cash on cash return. Mark's like, cool, let's do that. So obviously he did it. Now, the next slide shows what he actually made. So he ends up selling for a little bit more than he expected. He negotiated some of that commission, the buyer's allowance. His new net profit that he actually got is $57,000. That's not a Facebook check that he put on there because that doesn't have all the money taken out of it. That's just a check you get from the title company. His actual money that he made was $57,000. That's a 53% cash on cash return. He borrowed from someone's IRA. So if you are a fix and flipper, you can see these can make a lot of money. So let's quickly go through a few red flags for the fix and flip. This is for the people that fix and flip and aren't used to the mobile home space, because remember, mobile homes are usually a little more rural, especially the ones that make really good fix and flips. And who cares about all of these? It's the insurance and the inspector, because they make all the rules. So septic tanks, if you're not used to those, you got to learn about those. No HVAC. I know it sounds crazy, especially for the Florida following here, that why would you ever not have AC? Well, what we have found is a lot of times they have window shakers. They have the AC in the windows and not the central. So you have to know about that. So then flood zones, wetlands, remember they're a little more rural. There's different seasonalities, so sometimes people try to sell in the dry season. Look out for the flood zones because they might have to pay insurance extra, or they might not be able to get insured. We've got that non-permanent additions. This can happen everywhere. We have found it happens a little bit more common in the mobile home space. So you want to look out, you want to learn what to ask them, so then you can kind of get the picture behind the story of, is there some non-permanent work? Because that could stop you from getting it sold. Mobile home has been moved. If it has been moved from its original install place, you cannot get bank financing. If it has ever been moved from its original install, it will not get bank financing, except for one small exception, which is a VA loan. So a VA buyer can buy a mobile home that has been moved. I know I'll get the question, well, how do they know it's been moved? They figured out in the title work. I personally don't like the idea of resting everything on one VA buyer that wants to buy that home, it lessens my buyer's pool. So be aware of that. The do-it-yourself home repairs modeling, we see a lot of that in the mobile home space. We also see it where they met someone at the corner store and bought them a six-pack to help out with work. So you got to get a picture of what's behind those walls so you know what your budget is going to be. And then the last one there, the private road agreements. Again, this can happen anywhere, but it's more common in the rural areas. Dirt roads, it is possible to get financing with banks with a dirt road. It's not, you don't have as many options, but you got to know that in order to be able to get your end buyer the financing for it. And sometimes you have to get signatures of everyone on the road, but there's ways around most of that. These are just red flags to look out for. I think we're doing good on time. So you got to take action with this. I'm not an actor. So if you just listen here, it's just entertainment. And again, I'm not an actor. So please take something here and go and take action with it to improve your life and your family's life. A few of my favorite quotes are on the next slide of taking action. Is the price of inaction is far greater than the cost of making a mistake. This quote really hit me whenever I was on a cruise years ago. It was one of Bill Cook's cruises, and I know that Jack Miller, that world, that name is familiar to the Advanta crowd because there's a lot of students from there. I was interviewing, we'll say, a lot of the old Millerites is what they're called. So Jack Miller direct students. And a common theme that I got as some of my answers were, it was hard to mess up greater by taking action and making some mistakes than waiting 5 years to know it all. So the thing here is to take a little action, plan to fail forward, have someone to help you when you have some troubles, get back up, take a little more action, and keep doing that over and over again. That's what I do today. Look, I think we have a great example with the technology today. You know, we had a little bit of an oops, but we're getting through the webinar and everything's going to be fine. So, all right, our next question or quote here is, where you are a year from now is a reflection of the choices you make today. If you choose not to do anything today for your future, it's probably not going to do a massive change to your future. If you make even the smallest difference today, 1%, and a lot of people like to do a 1% improvement every day. Well, that's 365% at the end of the year. So take a little bit every day and take action on it and improve your life, hopefully with mobile homes. And then our last quote is, your action proves your faith. That's one of my coaches, Ken Holmes. He's basically saying, if you aren't doing anything, your actions are showing you don't believe it's possible for you. And I'm a good example of that. The old saying, if I can do it, so can you. Mentioned earlier, I wrote a book. If you don't know about me, I was in remedial classes all through school. And while I was writing the book, I found out I'm dyslexic. So this is not meant to poke fun, but if a dyslexic guy can write a book and a dyslexic guy can buy mobile homes, so can you. And I really mean that in an inspiring way, that I'm not that special. I learned from people and took action on what I learned, made some mistakes, asked for help, went to some more classes, and repeated that over and over. And that's what I'm still doing today. All right, I feel like we sped through some of that, but I do have a gift here. We went over some of the debunking of myths. I have more there. I have found that that is the first thing people have to get over to even contemplate mobile homes. And maybe at the end of this, you're like, you know what? I learned some more about mobile homes. I don't want to buy and own them. At least understand them enough to wholesale them. So you can make some money, and most importantly, you can help the homeowner out that has less options of how to sell, and stop leaving money on the table and stop just telling them, oh, there's nothing I can do to help you out. So, all right, do we have any questions that I missed? And
Yeah.
Uh,
Going back to that, so we have one pop up. So comments on moving your home to your land. So
hmm.
moving costs, possibly septic, well, utilities setup, things like that. I think is what they're kind of getting at with that question.
Yeah, great question. So let's look at this first. If you're going to buy brand new, if you're going to buy brand new, talk to a dealer at one of I've talked to multiple dealers, but when they give you their pricing, it probably includes the moving and setup. Ask them though, but they can help you get financing. And when it's a new one, you can get financing that typically covers everything. That means the home, the move, the setup, the well, the septic, maybe any impact fees, maybe some trees that has to be taken down, maybe removing the old one, everything, the land, all of it can get wrapped up into that one mortgage. Now, that could be a good way for you to live in one. That could be a good way for you to, I know people buy brand new ones and then rent them out. Brand new ones, set it all up, do all that, and then sell them. I've also bought just the dirt and then marketed to these people. And their mortgage, well, it cashed me out first because I had the land. I like that because I don't like to do all the moving parts of all that. The other way there is if it's going to be a used one. If it's a used one, you've got to do all of that yourself, essentially. Uh, if the big thing I see is, especially from wholesalers, is they'll say, oh, well, there used to be a mobile home there. You can just put a new one there. Well, if it's the 1960s and 70s, I already personally know in my area, Central Florida, the septic has to come up to code unless it's a new one. The well might be too close to the septic. They've changed those rules. Now I might need a new well and a new septic. There might be a fence from a neighbor in the way. That now I have to take down a fence and ask them even permission. There might be trees in the way. We've got to get it inspected. Mobile home movers, the cost changes throughout the country. The most recent cost I'm hearing in Florida is about $8,500 for a single wide and then about double for a double wide. They're not, I haven't found a lot of good referrals I can even give out for movers. So they're a little difficult. When you are pricing movers, make sure you're comparing apples to apples because you might get one at $1,000 and you might get one at the 8,500 and you're like, well, that's a no-brainer. I go with 1,000. Well, that person's might be only literally hooking it up and moving it. Doesn't include the tear down, the permitting, or anything else. So you really have to question them what they're charging on that move. Hopefully that
Yeah.
answers the question.
No, I think it does. And another question that I kind of jotted down with regard to like identifying, obviously, you brought up, kind of your investment thesis on what you like in mobile homes is that you like to buy, hold, rent. You're not necessarily in much of the flipping category, although, I'm sure if someone offered you enough money, anything's for sale, right?
Yep.
Uh, but to that point, for people out there that are saying, okay, this is, an interesting, asset class to look at. But again, there's kind of two different ways to look at it. Do you fix and flip one? Do you sell one? And I would assume that besides just the underlying interest of the person as to which method they want to go with, market is going to kind of dictate. So is location going to dictate, obviously which one's going to be the better fit. So could you maybe go into a little bit on just, again, high level on specifically, let's say, you have, an apples to apples comparison of a mobile home that could certainly be flipped or rehabbed and rented as to what might drive you to choose one versus the other when it comes to, location and buying it.
Yeah, I love this question, Alex. This is something for everyone, not just mobile home investors. The answer to this question all depends on where I am at that moment of my investing career. So today, I want some more cash flow, but it is not my number one thing. When I was in growth mode, I needed cash flow. I didn't care about anything else. I was willing to give up every other benefit of investing. If it didn't cash flow enough and have a high enough return on my investment, I wholesaled it. And I didn't fix and flip because I quickly learned that that's not for me, but I could have fixed and flipped. Now, so then I was only caring. So I bought honestly a little bit more of those older ones. The 1960s and 70s have a little bit higher cash flow. The dirt's not worth as much. And I was buying those, wholesaling anything else. Today, I can afford a little bit less cash flow or a little bit less return on my investment for what I call lotto tickets, where that dirt has some value. It's in the path of progress. And when I mentioned that we're getting on the contract now from a realtor, it's in the path of progress. I believe that dirt is going to be bought by a builder for a strip center within my lifetime, but it has to cash flow until then. So I'm kind of buying a dirt lotto ticket that cash flows. Now, in the past, I would have taken that and I would have wholesaled it. But today I can afford, because I'm in a different spot. I have different goals. In 3 years, I don't know what my answer would be. So a lot of it really depends on what your goals are. Are you really after cash flow? Or are you needing a tax advantage? If you're looking for appreciation, you're looking for that lotto ticket. Like I mentioned, my dirt is a lotto ticket. IRAs can usually wait a little bit longer. So sometimes they will invest in something that's a longer term play, like some land, and doesn't care about the cash flow. So it depends on really what you're after. But we can appreciate with the home because there's demand there for somewhere to live. And for us investors as cash flow, but we can appreciate a lot with that dirt. So did I answer the question?
I think you certainly did. I think that's a kind of a good place to leave it on with regard to people kind of looking at the different strategies behind this and the like. So we'll go ahead and end it up there. I do appreciate everyone being on with us today. We certainly do appreciate you sticking through this. We do apologize for the technical difficulties. I do promise you that we were on 10 minutes early trying to troubleshoot everything, and it was just sometimes technology works for you, sometimes it doesn't. But again, I appreciate Adrian being on today, being a good sport about everything. And again, we appreciate everyone attending this. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or Adrian. We're certainly happy to help. If you would like a copy of the presentation slides, you can certainly email myself or Adrian. We'll be happy to provide them. With that said, thank you very much, everyone, for joining with us today. We hope you have a great rest of your day. And that's it. Bye.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Advanta.